In this lesson, we're going to be talking about all the fees that are associated with selling on Walmart. In other words, all the money that Walmart is going to take once you make a sale. This is going to depend on what you're selling, as well as how you're selling it, if you're doing seller fulfilled or if you're doing WFS, as well as a couple of other things. But in this lesson, I want to break it down so that you understand the fees very clearly. The first thing to note is that Walmart does not charge an account level fee like Amazon does, so there is no $40 a month fee. Everyone has the same type of account, and then having the account is free. You only pay when the item sells, or if you're using a service like WFS or ads. The first fee that you should know about is going to be the referral fee. So this is the commission that you'll pay once an item sells, and it doesn't matter if you're doing WFS or if you're selling seller fulfilled, this is what you'll pay when the item sells. Now, this depends on the category the item's in. It could also depend on the price, as well as it could also depend on the type of item. So whenever you're selling an item, you should always note what category it's in. Now, it might not say exactly what category it's in, but you can also deduce just based off of what the item is, as well as you can also scroll down on an item page and you can take a look at the categories. So this is in household essentials, and this is a bunch of dryer sheets, and I see that the price is $8.60. So if I scroll down to household, here we have home and garden, health and personal care. So it either is going to be 15%, which is going to be around $1.30, or it can be 8% because it's under $10. So you can also look in the back end of your account, which we'll go over, and it will show you the exact fee that you're going to pay. So this is going to be really important in order to determine how profitable you are, as well as what price you should be setting your item at. Now, for some categories, like I said, it does depend on the items. So in apparel and accessories, you have a large variance in terms of the fees. It can be anywhere from 5% all the way up to 15%. And if you're selling backpacks, it's going to be a flat 15%. This is why you want to know the fees really well, and I would recommend bookmarking this page so that you can quickly go ahead and that you can quickly access it and see for references how much the referral fee is for that specific category or that price in that category or that item. Lastly, the general rule of thumb that I use is my first assumption is that it's going to be a 15% fee, because if you scroll down, you'll see that most things have a 15% fee, as well as everything else is a 15% fee. So if you're doing product research and you don't know the exact fee, and you don't have the time or you don't have the page pulled up to look up the exact commission fee, then you can just use 15% as a placeholder. The next type of fee that we're going to be talking about is going to be the Walmart fulfillment fee, or the WFS fee. This is a fee that you will pay if you send your product into the Walmart Fulfillment Service program, and you are going to pay different amount of fees depending on the size of your item, the weight of the item, as well as how long you are keeping it inside of their storage units. I'll also leave a link to this page down below, and you can go ahead and you can access Walmart's calculator so that you can play around with it and see how much they charge. We'll be breaking this down in a future lesson where we discuss setting up Walmart Fulfillment Service and how to utilize it, but here's a brief overview. So here's a brief overview. For products that are under a pound, you pay $3.45, 2 pounds, $4.95, etc., etc. And then you also pay additional fees for standard items only if they meet these criteria. So for anything that's apparel, you are going to add 50 cents on top of this fee, no matter the weight. And then for hazardous material, it's the same thing. And if the retail price is less than $10, you're going to add $1. So let's say you're selling a shirt and you are going to be paying the apparel fee, as well as you're also going to be paying the under a pound. So $3.45 plus the 50 cents, so you're at $3.95. And then if you're selling it for under $10, you are going to add another $1. And then on top of that, you're also going to pay the referral fee. So it might not make sense to send apparel in if you're selling it for less than $10. So that's why it's really important to just, again, keep these fees in mind because they do add up quickly. The last things to note on this page and for these fees are you have the big and bulky fee. So this really only depends if you're sending in bulkier items or larger and heavier items, and that can add up pretty quickly. And then you also have the fixed monthly storage fees. So these really aren't that bad. And you're only going to really have to worry about this if your product is sitting there for a longer time. So you definitely want to make sure that you are selling your inventory as quickly as possible. And then the last fee is the fixed monthly storage fee. So this is the fee that you'll pay in order to store your inventory in the Walmart Fulfillment Service storage facilities. And here you'll see it's broken down by months. So you have the slower months, which are January through September. Here you pay 75 cents per a cubic foot. And here you have October to December, or Q4, and this is going to be 75 cents per a cubic foot per month for items stored for fewer than or up to 30 days, and then $1.50 for anything that's over 30 days. And this is the fee that you never want to pay. It's going to be, if you are sitting your inventory there for over 12 months, then it's going to be $7.50 per cubic foot, which is going to add up incredibly quickly and it's going to be extremely expensive. So if your inventory is sitting there for over 90 days, you want to start looking for ways to liquidate it. And it is important to, again, keep these monthly storage fees in mind if your inventory is sitting there for a longer period of time. So the last thing to cover in this lesson is going to be miscellaneous things to know when talking about payments and fees. And the first is going to be the new seller payment hold policy. When you're a new seller on Walmart, Walmart will hold your money for an extended period of time, longer than if you were not a new seller. So if you're a new seller in the United States, Walmart is going to hold your money from 14 days after you mark the item as shipped. And this will fall off once your account meets these two criteria. So that is that you have 90 days have passed since your first order was shipped, as well as you've received $7,500 in payments. So you must meet both of these following criteria in order to have this payment hold lifted. Next is if you're international, that is still 90 days and it's also $7,500, but it's 21 days after you mark the item as shipped. So this is something to know, especially for cash flow as a newer seller. The other thing to note is going to be selling limits. So when you are selling on Walmart, and if you're coming from Amazon or another marketplace, you might be used to doing higher volume. But if you're coming onto Walmart, Walmart does institute selling limits. Now they're not too low and you can actually scale with them. So every month after you sell, then Walmart will review your account and you'll also be notified what your selling limits are in the beginning when you open an account. And then as they increase them, you'll also get a notification for that. And I'll show you how to set that up in another lesson, but they will increase your selling limits as your account grows so that you can continue to sell more. So the last fees that I want to talk about are going to be return fees, and I'll do a whole nother lesson on this. But with the return fees is when you're selling on Walmart, returns are going to be a big part of the business, and whether you're doing WFS or whether you're doing FBM, you are going to get returns, and there are different fees for the different returns that you are going to do. So if you're doing FBM, you can choose to use Walmart shipping, where you're going to have to pay the shipping back from the customer to you, and then you're going to have to pay that fee and the label. Or if you're doing WFS, then you are going to have to pay the return shipping fee for that. So we will cover the returns and the return shipping fees in future lessons.